Today we are joined by Lenard, the famous yacht designer and co-founder of Nuvolari Lenard Studio. Just a few days ago, broke the solo sailing record on an Olympic laser. Hi Dan, thanks for being with us.
Hello, how are you?
Well, thanks and you?
Good, very well. I recovered. I'm good now.
Yes, so you never give up, and at the end you made it. How you feel now?
So obviously very good because it was very nice trip with very beautiful weather in a very beautiful area. So all in all, it was actually a kind of an extreme holiday, if you want. I was not just making a record. I was having a good time on the water with a boat that I really love. It's a basic sailing boat, actually very technical, but really the basic smallest boat for the adult person. It's very known. My serial number is 224,450. So this is how many lasers were done. So it's very, very represented boat in the world of sailing. There is no one club that doesn't have one. So they're everywhere.
And so the weather was okay because the first time is not so okay.
Well, first time last September was an attempt, but we were actually, I had a support boat and I was basically building up a method, a way to do it. So it would be almost surprising if I could make something more than what I did in September, although interrupted by the storm because September is too late in the year, no?
Yeah.
The June attempt was the true attempt, but was not programmed as a date of a nice weather departure. It was programmed as a date together with E1 Series Formula, the electric boats that had the championship in Dubrovnik. And I was actually invited to be part of that event. And so I had to start it on the date that that thing happened. It was a speculation. Unfortunately, it was a total lack of wind period. So I couldn't go anywhere, but what I did, no. And after 4 days, obviously, the weather ended up with a very strong storm, and I had to land, which is the end of attempt because the moment you touch the land, or in case somebody would anchor, anyway, this is canceling the record. You have to be all the time on the water, not anchoring, not receiving anything from any other boat, not touching other boat, not mooring. You are sailing, and you know that
One
laser
week.
is.
One week. Not
That was in June, was 4 days, and then I started again, but there was no wind, no. But as I was telling you, laser cannot take the sail down.
yeah.
It's a boat that is done like a surfboard, windsurf. The sail is
Yes, yes.
pulled over the mast down, so you can't really take the sail off the boat during the navigation. You have to go on the coast to dismount the boat. No, so in laser you are obliged to have the sail out and on all the time. So the third attempt was actually the last one. That was carved to the weather conditions. Okay, we were waiting for the right week for the high pressure stabilized over the Mediterranean. Still not optimal. It was not a lot of wind, but still enough that in 6 days I made it. Okay.
Okay.
So if it was a little bit more wind, just a little bit more, I could go much further. But again, in this method of mine of sailing long distance in laser, I'm also counting on calms. So the times of the day when there is no wind, because that's the time I can actually rest, because I basically live and sleep on these boats, no? So let's say that you would have like 4 days or 3 days of a constant wind, you could not make a record. You would just fall down out of exhaustion after 3 days.
Yeah.
So the true ideal conditions are some wind, but also no wind in same 24 hours, which is very common in the anticyclone periods in the Adriatic Sea. You have the normal day thermal wind, which is Mistral, and you have the night wind from the coast back to the sea. In the meantime, there are some silences of 2-3 hours. Well, in my case, there was no night wind, so I was pretty much drifting between the 2 day winds, but still enough to make 321 miles
Yeah, yeah,
and a
yeah,
half.
and half.
And a half. Yeah.
But your routine in these days is the same of which is your routine? Which was your routine?
Well, these records in the past were made, as I said, by a very skilled sailor that went full time until exhaustion. So 100 hours, 70 hours without sleeping or kind of falling into a semi sleep during sailing.
Yeah,
Um, Villa Code, which is my foundation, but also a principle of um, nice things on the water, not extreme things on the water. Research the way how to do it in a more yachty way. No, it sounds almost not possible, but even laser with this way of approach becomes a yacht, which means that it's your home. You sleep on when there is no wind. You sleep not very comfortably, but you sleep.
no, yes, because
You sleep in the water, and you are wet all the time.
yes, because
Uh,
this challenge had another goal too, no?
yes. So I eat, I drink, I wash my teeth, I swim every 3-4 hours. I go in the water to stretch. So I actually could extend this. The 6 or 7 days is not the limit. I think that realistically, my limit would be probably 14 days. That's where I would really get kind of a fed up of this laser. But 6-7 days was actually pretty nice. So 321 miles and a half
Half.
is really not the limit. I was actually aiming at much more, and I don't say no to maybe another attempt to go over 400 or 500 miles, in the future. So as I say, you sleep, you do your morning routine, hygiene, you dress for the day, you sail all day, you eat whatever you have. I had very small provisions because I didn't want to put too much on a food. I had enough water. I had some beer. Everything was glass or pre-packed without any trash. Because one thing you don't want on a laser is trash, because you have already limited space. Now you're sailing with a trash bag around. That would really be bad, no? And you know that all the trash that we really make is basically all single-use plastic for the small provisions of food that people buy in the supermarkets, no? Well, that is actually what I really didn't want to have on board, because Vela Code is pointing a finger to all the plastic that ends in the oceans and in the sea. And it's basically due to the single-use plastic, not only on the water made on yachts or in coastal towns, but actually all the plastic that we throw away and we don't burn, and that's about 72%, and ends on the landfills, with years gets washed in the sea. So the sea is the final toilet shell for all our single-use plastic. Okay.
But how much plastic did you find in the sea in these
Oh,
weeks?
today we got used to it, which is a terrible thing, that there is always a plastic bag or a bottle of plastic bottle of water, X water, or I don't know, sun cream, or or even just the polystyrol from one apple, or a little bit of cheese. And I mean, we are used to see that all the time on the water. It's not anymore, and that's only the recently thrown away plastic. If you look carefully, there is a film over the water of all the I would say trash. It's not only plastic, but you can see that the water surface is not clean during the summer when all the yachting is happening. No, so uh, the one that we don't see is the problem, the microplastic, because all the plastic in certain time basically breaks into microplastic, and that one stays in the water for hundreds. We're talking 500 to 800 years, before it actually gets destroyed by by the time, and really breaks into the smallest things and gets absorbed basically by organisms. And today that's not possible anymore because there's more plastic in the water than biomass. So all the animals and all the plants in the oceans are less mass than all the plastic that is in the oceans and in the seas.
Yeah,
So,
it's a problem for the fish, for us, for the oxygen, because you said me that the sea is very important for this.
well, the sea is the big sink. That's how it's called. It's an ocean sink, and it absorbs CO2. Basically, to some extent, even 50% of all the CO2 on the made on the planet, of which the human one is very little. We have all the other um, sources of CO2 that we cannot influence to, but it's also the one that gets absorbed by the oceans. No, it's small organisms, phytoplankton. Not organisms; they are plants, really. Actually, no. So um, they absorb CO2 doing photosynthesis, and then they deliver the oxygen back in the our air. And microplastic actually doesn't allow them to do that process properly. Excuse me. And what we're doing is we're fighting the emissions of our engines and our industries while our toilet shell is actually being broken. That's the problem. The ocean doesn't absorb. So, and we are keep on clogging it, with more and more plastic. So all the agenda of reducing emissions makes absolutely no sense with the ocean absorption being compromised. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah, yeah,
you are having a bathtub in which one the constantly a big flow of water is trying to fill it up. Your bath tap is broken, so it doesn't let the water out, and you're trying with the glass taking some water out of the bathtub. That's what we are doing.
yeah.
Or to give you even more picturesque example, imagine a family home, an apartment
Hmm.
where the toilet is broken, and we decide not to go to the toilet as less as possible. This is what we're doing with the CO2 agenda. Furthermore, we almost say, you know what, let's go down to the bar because at the bar the toilet is working, which is like moving our industries somewhere else on the planet where we don't see how dirty they are. This is what we're doing.
So with Vela code, you want to show that it's possible another kind of sail, no, with minimal impact.
I think that yachting is stigmatized, and I think every honest person in this industry must actually understand that this is happening. We are not popular. Nobody really likes us,
No,
no?
yes, sure.
And they are applying to us all the negativity that they can. And of course, how is yachting responding? Well, let's do cleaner engines. As I say, good, let's do them. It will take decades to make a substantial difference on the yachting pool because there are millions of boats out there, and we can apply new technology only on the new ones. So that doesn't really solve our image. It does in a little bit of a technical appeal, like in a car business. You can do as many as electric cars. There's still small percent of all the cars on the world. No, in yachting it's going to be even slower, this process. So that's not the way out to really restore the positive yachting image. Vela Code, my foundation, proposes to actually act more like a behavior to restore the image on a behavior level. Let's say that yachting becomes a protagonist in banning single use plastic on board. We can afford that. Buying fresh food, yachting can afford that. Buying fresh food, not bringing plastic, single use plastic on board. So being already responsible when you're buying the provisions. What do you do that with that? Everybody can do that, from the 3.5 meter rubber dinghy to 150-meter mega yacht. All yachting can immediately do the same. And if that becomes an image, that really makes you a environmental protagonist, because not only you're doing it for some fictive area out there, which are oceans and the sea, for all the people that don't go on boats, you're doing it for the real, true environment where your yachting is happening. You are seeing that sea, that water, that ocean you're using, no? So you are basically just not spitting in your soup if you're doing that.
Yes, 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 yes.
And because yachting at the end is a luxury business, any kind of a positive initiative attached to a luxury can very easily become a trend
Yes, for other people.
and
Yes.
fashion. So I am of strong belief that oceans will not be solved by laws, by oppression, by you must, but they will be sold by sexiness and fashion of some kind of a movement that looks good and everybody knows it's also good. It's not just good and looking good, it's actually good. And if
Yes,
you can apply that, not only you restore the image of yachting, you actually are seriously every day doing something good. So it's a true thing.
you are happy to do this, no?
Yes, exactly. So with my little boat, what I did, I reduced the yachting to the minimum size boat, okay?
Yeah.
And I converted that time on the boat into a yachting time in the very, very small approximative way. It was a yachting way. It was sleeping, it was eating, it was having good time, it was swimming. There was absolutely no high end sport suffering. There is mind, of course, you have to be alone there, you have to do that. But if you like sailing, you can balance that between, the good and less comfortable. And at the end, pulling the line, it's actually a very nice time I had on the water.
Yes, and all people can do this, no?
All people can do this.
Thanks, Dan, and see you the next challenge. You have
I'm now waiting whether it's going to be attacked. That's another thing that I wanted to achieve with this. I have to tell you this. No, um, yachting in sorry, yachting starts usually with small sailing clubs, and kids going out in little boats and everything, and it's still oriented to competitive sailing, which is good. Kids needs competitiveness, no.
Mhm.
But what I wanted to also show to the kids, and I'm going to try to expand that, going to clubs, talking with kids, and we will you start in local and go global. You tell them, look, you have a boat already. It's not just a boat that your trainer can pull you out to the racing racing area and then you compete. You can also take a couple of uh, liters of water and a sandwich out and spend the day out on your little boat.
Yes,
Use it also as a platform for fun. It's not just competitiveness and the racing and regattas. You already have a tool. You just have to learn that you can actually use it very nicely.
yes,
Like a half a mile out of the port, you can be on yourself and enjoying the sea in your little laser or Feva or a Europe class or whatever you are having in your club. It's not just for racing. It's actually having
actually,
nice time on the water, no?
yes, it's good, really
And
good.
when this happens, when I became teenager, the sailing become too limited to the yacht club for me.
Yeah.
So I actually already when I was 15 or 16, I actually started going places with a laser. I had a laser back then, no? So it was fun. You take some water, you take something to eat, and you disappear for the whole day. And when you're 15, 16, that's exactly what you want to do. And that's where people actually either leave the sailing because it becomes boring in that competitive environment of the club, or they actually go on and on, become champions, and then they go on bigger boats and stuff, you know. But this is where the yachting skillness comes from, you know, from a small boat. And when you can actually really live on a, even just a day on a 4 meter boat, no boat is a problem for you anymore in life, you know.
Yes, it's true.
Every bigger boat is just an easier way, you know. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. So have a good time. Don't go with a single-use plastic on the water.
No, never.
And try to buy a fresh prosciutto rather than the one in the plastic. No, it's better for you, you know.
It's better for me, yes.
Yeah.
Bye. See you
Thank
soon.
you. Bye bye.